Please welcome to the stage Emilie McGlone and Henk Rogers, who will be running this session, and 3 of their wonderful youth activists who will be joining them. Please give them a big round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Extreme Hangout. What a lovely afternoon it is here in Dubai at COP28. And thank you so much to the organizers for being here with us and all of the participants here today. Round of applause for everyone. Thank you so much. All right, well, we're excited to share here with you today our presentation about Peace Boat and Blue Planet Alliance, and also our Youth for the SDG Scholars, who you see here on the stage. Really happy to see lots of youth here in the audience. We're going to be talking about ways you can also get involved, so please pay close attention. We're going to start off, first of all, with a presentation a little bit introducing Peace Boat and how we came together for this collaboration. So this is our ship, the Peace Boat, also known as the MV Pacific World, which holds 2,000 people and travels the world promoting peace and sustainability. You can see on the stage here, we also have a map of our global voyages, visiting more than 20 countries every 3 months, and about 100 ports of call in the northern and southern hemisphere. Peace Boat was started in 1983, and this year we are celebrating our 40th anniversary. And with us, we carry 2,000 participants all around the world, organizing workshops and lectures about important global issues. We also work as part of ICAN, the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons, on nuclear disarmament and education, sharing the voices of survivors from Hiroshima and Nagasaki as Peace Boat was started in Japan, and working together with communities also affected by the nuclear disaster in Fukushima. So really calling for a nuclear-free future. It's one thing we've been hearing a lot at COP28, and we want to really make sure that everyone knows that we're working towards a nuclear-free future with renewable energy, mostly solar, wind, or geothermal, because the nuclear radiation from Fukushima still today continues to affect local communities, and they've also been leaving nuclear radiated water into the ocean, which we are sailing on every day and which we really care and want to protect. So today we're also going to be talking about education, SDG number 4. We are organizing educational programs on board the ship with guest speakers and lecturers, doing workshops and all kinds of events every day as we're sailing from port to port. And on the hull of our ship, we have the logo of the SDGs. So everywhere that we dock, we're raising awareness for sustainable development, and we're part of the SDG Action Campaign. We also have a purpose, which is sailing for sustainability through socially and environmentally responsible tourism. That means that in every port of call, we are going to learn from local communities. People often ask us, what are you going to teach on the Peace Boat? And we're not going to teach, we're going to learn from the communities that we work with, whether it be indigenous groups or local NGOs or governments. And we're very proud of our Ocean and Climate Youth Ambassador program. Today we also have Khadija Stewart here from Trinidad and Tobago, who was already on board twice now, once as an Ocean and Climate Youth Ambassador. These are young people from small island developing states or large ocean states raising awareness for SDG 14. And now we have our Youth for SDGs program. We've started a scholarship for young people ages 18 to 30. Raise your hand if you're in that category here today, 18 to 30 years old. All right, there's a couple of you out there, so thank you so much. We have a scholarship to bring you on board the ship and sail with us now under the UN Ocean Decade. This is the decade of ocean science for sustainable development, and our program recently was endorsed by IOC UNESCO as an official contribution to the Ocean Decade. So we're really excited to continue this program until 2030 and beyond. We have also started an incredible citizen science program, organizing water testing throughout the ports of call that we visit, learning about pH level, oxygen, turbidity, and temperature of the water in all the ports of call, so we can see the impacts of climate change and how those are differing over time and from different ports. So our youth are really getting engaged and actually learning about science hands-on. And this year, we had 2 programs on board for the Ocean Decade. The first program was in the Arctic. We sailed from London up through the fjords of Norway over to Iceland. And our second program was held in Latin America. So learning about the impacts of climate change, especially in the Arctic, is a really important part of our work. And we'll be returning again next summer. So you guys can look forward to joining us in the future. And on every global voyage, we have all kinds of programs around sustainability. So whether we're working in the ports, doing nature observation, or learning about our ocean, we also realize that traveling by ship does have an impact on the ocean that we care about, which is why we've started this amazing program to create the world's first Ecoship. This will be a ship using solar and wind power to reduce our CO2 by at least 20% just with the solar and wind. We'll have wind sails and solar panels that'll be retractable sails. You can see here on the hull of the ship as well, covered with solar. And these will be helping us to sail more sustainably as we are traveling, bringing our passengers on board, but also to raise awareness on how much energy we're using on the ship. We'll have smart energy meters in all of the cabins, and we'll also be doing education around renewable energy as part of our main programs. So this is going to be the first ship of its kind. It's also using the idea of biomimicry, sharing nature's pattern as an inspiration. So this is designed after the shape of a whale. And inside the ship, in the hull, we will have a beautiful garden. So that's kind of the cover of the garden. And inside we'll have a big biodiversity hub with all kinds of natural elements where people can learn about the different kinds of plants around the world. And that will be 6 stories high inside the ship. We'll also have a kinetic energy dance floor so that while we're listening to amazing music, we can also help generate energy just by our own movement, which I think is going to be pretty amazing. Pretty cool, right? Give a round of applause for that. That sounds pretty cool, right? And as we're contributing to citizen science, we want to have a research lab on board. And we've been working with Dr. Sylvia Earle and also Fabien Cousteau to design this marine research area, contributing to citizen science and data. And we'll be doing all kinds of educational programs around renewables and then the ocean as well. So this year, we're just excited to present this Ecoship program. And we're going to try to show you guys also a little bit of an example of what the video of the Ecoship might look like. We have a rendering of the ship of the future. You can see it here on stage. Check out this short video. Okay, how many people would like to sail with us on the Ecoship? Raise your hand. All right, you guys are receiving an invitation from Extreme Hangout here, so you can join us on our next voyage. And we're hoping to sail the Ecoship by the year 2030. That's our goal. And this year, we have a new opportunity for young people. We'll be traveling in January through Patagonia from Chile to Argentina. So you can see here the glaciers that we were viewing from the ship. Our last voyage to Argentina and Chile was in 2019 with our Youth for the SDGs Scholarship Program. So this year, scholarships are open right now. We'll be going to Torres del Paine National Park in Chile as well, learning about the glaciers. And really, this is a very fragile ecosystem which we want to protect and learn about as much as possible. So we'll be inviting young people to travel with us. We'll be going on January 10th to Valparaiso, Chile, where Peace Boat will be docking, and then heading south into Patagonia, sailing through the fjords over to Ushuaia in Argentina, and then up to Buenos Aires, which will be really cool. So I hope that you can all join us. This is the scholarship page. You guys can scan the QR code, sign up today, or come talk to us after. And I hope you'll enjoy also the talk from our Youth for SDGs scholars. And that's pretty much kind of the exciting part about Peace Boat. And because we're working towards renewable energy, this is going to be the chance where we get to really partner with the Blue Planet Alliance. So I'd like to pass it over now to the founder and director and incredible entrepreneur, Mr. Henk Rogers from Blue Planet Alliance. Please give him a big round of applause.
So I have a question. There are 100,000 people here. Why are we here? To stop climate change. All right, we're here to stop climate change. And how are we going to do that? What's causing climate change? Climate change is being caused by carbon dioxide. We all know this. It's very simple. So we have to stop producing carbon dioxide. That's the job. You know, there's a lot of other stories that you hear about. You know, I don't know. I hear 2 degrees and 1.5 degrees. I just don't understand exactly what that means or how I can affect that. But I do know that we can stop using carbon-based fuel. Now, how do we do that? I'll give you an example. Okay, so I was living in Hawaii when I came on my mission to end the use of carbon-based fuel. I could tell you the story about how I came on this mission. I had a near-death experience, and I found my mission in life. And so I decided that Hawaii should be first. Now, Hawaii at the time, this is, gosh, 15 years ago, Hawaii spent at that time $5 billion a year on oil and $1 billion on coal. 30% of the oil goes to jet fuel, 30% goes to ground transportation, meaning gasoline and diesel. And $2 billion, 40% or $2 billion of the oil is used to make electricity. $2 billion plus $1 billion of it, that's $3 billion. Now, Hawaii is the southernmost state in how many of you from the US? Almost nobody. Yeah, I'm guessing, okay. It's the southernmost state in the US, so we have the best solar. It's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, so we have wind. We have 95% of the time we have trade winds. It's the mecca of renewable energy. So we decided to form a group, the Blue Planet Foundation, to end the use of carbon-based fuel in Hawaii. Now we're fighting against, you could say we're fighting against $6 billion. But we didn't start by saying oil is bad or coal is bad, you guys got to stop doing that and try to stop the import. Because as long as people are using the oil and using the coal, they're not going to stop. This is kind of like, it's kind of like trying to stop the drug trade by putting drug lords in jail. As long as people are still using drugs, the drugs are still going to come. Somebody else is going to do it. If you stop one oil company, another oil company will do it. The only way we can do it is by stopping ourselves. So we went about, the biggest chunk of all of that oil and all of that coal was the $3 billion, was making electricity. So we decided to go after the electricity sector first. And we didn't do it by saying, you guys are wrong, you guys are evil. We said, let's figure out a better way for you guys to do business. So first of all, when we talked to them in the old days, they said, what are you talking about? We make electricity by burning oil and coal. What are you talking about? And I said, well, we're talking about all kinds of renewable energy. We're talking about wind, solar, geothermal. So those things are unreliable. We don't know how to use that stuff. And I came to the realization that there's a negative inertia. In other words, people don't want to change. They know how to do something and they don't want to change. And that's kind of the problem of the world. So how do we break through that barrier? The adults didn't really want to listen to us. So the answer is through the youth, by the way. If you go back in time, you know, everybody used to smoke cigarettes, and they did public service announcements saying this is bad for you, it's going to kill you and all that. And did that stop anybody from smoking? No. The campaign to stop smoking, we reached to the children and said, please ask your parents to stop smoking because you want them to be around. You don't want them to die. And so the first campaign that we did is we had school children go door to door and exchange 300,000 light bulbs. And in 3,000 in that the exchange, the communication exchange between a child and an adult, the child is saying, here, this light bulb will save you money because it only uses 10% of the electricity of your old light bulb. And this will save my future because it's going to reduce the amount of carbon carbon dioxide that we're putting into the air, which is really affecting my future. Then we had junior high school students go draw on sidewalks where high tide would be in a 1 meter rise in sea level. This is Hawaii now. 1 meter rise in sea level, and Waikiki is underwater during high tide. So people got to understand what it is. They got to understand what's the solution, a little bit about the solution. And our big claim to fame, our big success was in 2015, we managed to pass a law. I mean, this takes time. It took us years, but we finally passed a law in Hawaii that says Hawaii has to go 100% renewable for electricity by 2045. What that meant was that the electric company, utility, and everybody else in Hawaii was put on notice that if they tried to build something today to make electricity out of fossil fuel, they would have to shut it off in 2045. It's the first time that the utility actually thought about it. And they got their engineers together and they started thinking about it, and they came back 6 months later and said, you know what, we figured it out. We can actually do this, and we can do it by 2040. This was the date that we were originally fighting for. We were fighting to get 100% by 2040. The politicians said, we're not going to give you 2040, we'll give you 2050. We negotiated and ended up with 2045. It turns out, my son tells me, hey, 2045 turns out to be a great date. I said, why? He says, that's the 100th anniversary of the United Nations. Perfect. Perfect. Let's fix climate change by 2045, the 100th anniversary of the United Nations. That's a start. We start in Hawaii. Since then, 12 other states have copied our legislation, including California, Illinois, and New York. So we're already at 50% of the people in the United States that have a mandate that says they cannot use fossil fuel for electricity after 2045. And to make sure that it happened, what did we do? The next thing we did was we changed the business model of the utility so that they make more money by switching to renewables. The cost of electricity, that's oil-based electricity, is 25 cents per kilowatt hour. The cost of wind and solar is 8 cents per kilowatt hour. If you add storage, meaning batteries, now you're up to 12 cents. The cost is half. And the old business model was the utility got to make 10% on the price of oil. What a stupid business model, by the way. It meant that they're happy when the price of oil goes up because they're making more money. Doesn't make any sense. So 10% of 25 cents is 2.5 cents. Okay, you can make 3 cents on the 12 cents. It means they're making more money and we're paying less money. Guess what? Guess who's our best friend now? It's the utility. They went from being like, ooh, those guys are the worst consumers of fossil fuel to moving in the right direction. Hawaii today is already at 36% renewable energy. So if you align everybody to go in the same direction, people will move. It's an economic thing. So I see a lot of youth here. I demonstrated when I was your age. I demonstrated against the war in Vietnam, and we stopped that war. And it's your turn to stop the use of fossil fuel. But it starts with our consumption. It starts at home. And so we did Hawaii, we did 12 other states, and now we've formed a new organization called the Blue Planet Alliance, and we're doing the same thing, but we're doing it for other countries. So 2 months ago, it's a month and a half ago, we brought 8 islands to Hawaii. 1 person from the government, 1 person from the utility, 1 person from the community. And we showed them what we did in Hawaii. And we taught them how to talk to each other. Because in general, these people they're in the side, they're not talking to each other. And that's part of the problem. Because the solution involves everybody. It doesn't just involve some sector. Everybody gets involved. So we are moving in the right direction. Hawaii's moving in the right direction. The island countries that we brought, Palau, Tuvalu, Tonga, Guam, Samoa, Northern Marianas, and the Cayman Islands. That was the first one. We'll do this every 6 months and bring in 8 new countries, island countries, to Hawaii. And then we'll start working on countries. This is how we do it. We are going to get individual jurisdictions in the world to decide to stop using fossil fuel. That's the way to go forward. And first, it's for electricity. The next for us, we're doing this already, is ground transportation, which is already happening in the world. And next will be air transport. And once we've got all of those sectors, we will be done. And we can do this by 2045. We have the technology. We have the money. All that's missing is the willpower. And the willpower has to come from the youth. You need to tell your parents that you demand this because they're responsible for your future. All the people, they need to tell their politicians, they need to get everyone to move. People ask me if I have hope. And I say, no, I don't have hope. I have determination. We need determination because we are going to do this. We are going to fix climate change, and we're going to fix climate change by 2045. And it's about ending the use of carbon-based fuel. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Henk Rogers. You know, Blue Planet Alliance has been an incredible inspiration, not only to Peace Boat, because we're also working to decarbonize the maritime, but also, you know, to so many young people around the world. So as you saw here from this fellowship program on the stage, that was an incredible experience for island leaders going to Hawaii, learning firsthand about the success of Blue Planet Alliance. And now we also have our Youth for the SDGs Scholars, also co-sponsored by Blue Planet Alliance. We have 7 Youth for the SDGs Scholars here at COP28, which is amazing. And I'd like to pass the mic now, first of all, to Francisco Lara-Fletes. He is from Costa Rica. He's been working with us at Peace Boat as well. He was not only on the ship, but then he became an intern at Peace Boat, coming to COP, and is now a global ambassador for Blue Planet Alliance. So everybody, please give Francisco a big round of applause.
Thank you, Emily, for that warm introduction and amazing, actually. And yeah, I have the privilege to, you know, be here with 2 amazing organizations that are represented by Mr. Rogers and also Emily as well. And I'm very glad to be sharing with all of you my experience on board the Peace Boat for the Youth for the SDGs Scholarship Program. And maybe, I don't know, you know, inspire you to join our voyages and the next program that is going to take place in January. So first of all, I would like to talk about how a game changer the Youth for the SDGs program is. I mean, from, you know, having the opportunity to make lifelong friendships as well as, you know, getting to involve in educational programs on board the ship and also on each port that we visit. That was something that I was never experienced, you know, traveling on a ship that has many different cultures inside the boat, and also being surrounded by amazing nature, as you can see here, because we made 3 stops on our program in Panama and Guatemala and Mexico. We did this civil society engagement with different stakeholders, different institutions, and we also were able to raise our voice, which is something that not all organizations, you know, give the platform for young people, and that's something that Peace Boat and also Blue Planet Alliance allow us to do, to raise our voice, to use the power that we have within ourselves, and to share, you know, our needs and the things that we believe in. So for me, for example, as someone from Costa Rica, the work that Blue Planet Alliance does in the renewable field, and also the work that the Ecoship is currently doing to, to basically revolutionize the maritime industry is so important, coming from a country where 99% of our energy is actually produced from renewables. So that's pretty much what I feel and what I feel inspired by, and that's the stubborn optimism that keeps me going like every single day. Hank just said that we don't need to have hope, we need to have determination, and that's pretty much what I also feel inspired by, not only by him but by for example, Christiana Figueres, the former UNFCCC Secretary General and the architect of the Paris Agreement as well. She says that we need to have this stubborn optimism, and we need to believe that there is a future that is worth fighting for. And that's the call that pretty much we want to do today, with all of you, all of the youth here representing. We want to use our shape, we want to use our cause and everything for youth to raise your voice, to have this stubborn optimism, to keep pushing towards renewable, towards sustainability, towards the well-being of all of us, of the world in general. So yeah, let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep trying. Let's keep pushing. Let's keep this stubborn optimism within all of us. And now I actually would like to pass the mic to my amazing friend Ari, which is also somebody who took part of on our amazing voyage, and she will deep dive more into the experience of the youth for the SDGs. Thank you so much.
Hi. So this feels a little bit surreal because I think I met Emilie first beginning of this year, and we sort of kept speaking about the road to COP, all of our plans, and it's crazy to see it sort of materialize and see you guys here, because the whole idea was that we were going to spend the year working on these projects, translating our findings and bringing it back to young people. So it's amazing, first of all, to see so many of you guys in the room. But I guess for a little bit of context, so before I met Emilie, I was given the amazing title of Head UK Youth Delegate to COP. So my role was effectively to bridge the gap between civil society, both domestically and internationally, and feed that back to the governments, to the international community, and translate that into policy that is enacted into law. Sounds simple enough, but it's a really, really hard task, especially when, being from London, my echo chamber is young people who are frankly very privileged, like myself, who don't feel the wrath of climate change on a day-to-day. It gets a little bit warmer sometimes, and we're really happy about that because it's cold most of the time. But for me, it didn't really feel like I was getting enough representation by talking to just people in my sort of surrounding community. And so getting the opportunity to be a Peace Boat scholar was incredible. When I got the email from Emilie, I couldn't quite believe my luck, and I was on a flight to Panama a few weeks later. And for me, the experience was, we said at the time we didn't really want to put it into words because it couldn't justify quite sort of the beauty of it and the not just the lessons we learned, but the connections we made with both the people on my panel and the communities in Latin America. But it really, really opened my eyes to several things, but one thing was the huge chronic information gap that different communities across the world experience. So I think it was Guatemala, and we'd done this incredible turtle conservation efforts in the morning with Sustainable Ocean Alliance in Guatemala. And on our way back, we had four turtles on our boat, and we were taking them on the way to the hospital. And I remember seeing on the sort of the banks of the shore there was loads of rubbish. And I turned to the partner and said, what a shame it is that this rubbish has obviously accumulated from someone else throwing it into the sea and onto these vulnerable communities' coastlines. But they said that actually the community that lived on these islands, they were actively putting the rubbish there, so Coca-Cola bottles, toothpaste cans, because they thought that it would help prevent coastal erosion. They thought it worked as a deflection method. which is crazy because, you know, I know from a young age that coastal erosion is not solved by putting plastic onto the shoreline, and to me that's an obvious thing. But for these communities who are so desperate, who don't get representation in the international sphere, who aren't listened to, they're having to resort to alternatives that are actually hindering the problem as opposed to contributing to the solution. And so it was incredible for me to kind of realize the naivety of these communities and my own naivety, and come back to the UK and try and translate that. And one huge legacy for me this year is, in order for the UK to be more representative and sort of bring in the international narrative of what's going on, we extended, as Henk was talking about with the sort of SIDS, we extended our delegation to include overseas territory. So we have someone from the Cayman Islands representing the UK this year, which is incredible because for her, it's a real, you know, day-to-day lived experience of the climate crisis. And so she is one of the only people from the Cayman Islands this year, and the same I was with someone from St. Martin earlier, the only representative from St. Martin. And I think it was my experience on the Peace Boat, working with these different communities, working with these incredible individuals who exposed the reality of their lived experience, that made me want to sort of use my sort of privilege and my title to get people in the room who aren't there otherwise. And not just for me to be their voice, but also to give them a platform to sort of have their own voice. And I really, I think, couldn't have done that without the confidence that Peace Boat gave me to not pull the ladder up. I think that's a huge thing. Once you're in anywhere, you know, you guys are in Dubai, you're in COP, it's a privilege, and anything you can do to sort of keep the hard work going, and it is determination. It's not just hope, because hope sounds kind of like a passive thing where you sort of wish that things will come about, and you're looking forward to someone else sort of doing the legwork. But it is about determination, it is about grit, and it is just about passion. And ultimately, that comes from feeling like you're part of a community, and you can't do that by sort of working through this in isolation. And it's interesting, Henk, that you said it took, you know, a near-death experience to make you sort of realize this. But I guess the current crisis is a near-death experience if you think about the timeline of sort of how long we have left before wildfires are a daily occurrence. And so I guess this should be our current near-death experience that catalyzes us to want to make a change. So, yeah, I think I just hope you guys sort of, as everyone was saying, you guys really are the future, and I really hope that you see your agency and see your power and do something about it with us. It's very much a collective effort. So, thank you.
All right, Ari, how am I supposed to follow after you with that amazing closure? But I am Khadija Stewart from Trinidad and Tobago, and as Ari was talking about, you know, getting the confidence, I started my journey with Peace Boat in 2019 as an Ocean and Climate Youth Ambassador. And I just remember seeing the advert for this program and thinking, wow, this looks amazing. Is this something I should sign up for? I don't know. Who am I? Do I have enough knowledge? Am I smart enough? Am I going to be able to contribute to the conversations, etc.? And that plays on the imposter syndrome that, you know, we as young people face 24/7. But I was like, you know what? I might be scared, but let me take the chance. Let me take the opportunity, especially being from a small island developing state. And we had 8 ambassadors from the Caribbean, from the Pacific, from all over. And it was the first time that a space was created specifically for SIDS on a moving ship, where we were able to share our stories, our lived realities of climate change, and connect that with the global atmosphere. So like, we were in Spain, we were in Malta, we were in the Azores Islands, we were speaking to university students, we were speaking to professors. We were really just sharing our knowledge, our stories, and really letting people know that, hey, like Ari kind of mentioned, you know, being from London, that not all the time you would be experiencing climate change in the way that you might think, oh, maybe this is climate change. Whereas we as islanders, we have that 24/7, whether it be a hurricane, a typhoon, you know, a drought, etc. So for us to be able to share that and for people to connect and people to realize, oh no, I need to wake up. I need to just not just be there thinking, oh, well, this is somebody else's problem. Maybe I should just let them deal with it. And through that, we really felt empowered. I always say before 2019, if you asked me to sit on a stage and talk to people, I would have laughed and just completely gone home because there was no way I was going to use my voice, I was going to share, I was going to speak up. But this is something that the program does a really good job at, is just helping you find your voice and you find your superpower and you really be able to connect with communities, connect with each other. Moving on from this program, I did the Youth for the SDGs program. I clearly love the ship a lot, just like being out at sea, just seeing the ocean. I spend a lot of time just staring at it because I get frustrated and I get, overwhelmed with the realities of climate change and being in this space 24/7, that I just really need to be out at sea sometimes. And just that's one of the things that I enjoy the most actually about being on the ship, as well as connecting with other youth leaders. And the Youth for the SDGs program, wow, that was completely different from the first one. This time, it was global youth. We had the opportunity to really connect with local NGOs, like Ari mentioned, doing sea turtle conservation in Guatemala, spending time with indigenous communities in Panama, being in Mexico, feeling an normal amount of heat, something that I had never experienced before in my life. And I was just like, well, if this is climate change, then boy, tap me out, because I don't want to live through that. Like, it was an abnormal temperatures that we were experiencing. But all that to say is that, the ship was really a tool for young people to really connect, to really empower, to really use their voice. And through that, we make different partnerships, different connections. And that's how I became involved with Blue Planet Alliance as well. And, being from, like I said, from the Caribbean, a small island developing state, experiencing the impacts of climate change, my country, Trinidad and Tobago, their main economic driver is the fossil fuel industry. And, BPA is working towards 100% renewables, etc. And they have, a lot of other islands involved. And it's about time that Trinidad and Tobago realizes that we can't continue business as usual. There's no way our people would survive if we continue like that. And if they have the stepping stones, the knowledge, the power, then why not join that cause to help turn the tide in my own country so that we could see a future and we could continue enjoying the island that we all call home. So that's it.
All right. Thank you so much. I mean, our youth ambassadors really have been amazing to work with, not only on the Peace Boat, but our goal is to bring them to COP. We don't only participate also here at COP, but other United Nations conferences like the UN Ocean Conference. This year we were at Climate Week in New York City. We were at the Water Conference, and we'll be also at the UN Ocean Decade Conference, which will be taking place next year in Barcelona, in Spain. So we enjoy traveling with our youth and really making the program continue on throughout the years. So it's kind of something that we hope will bring in more young people, and we'll be able to really make a big change through their stories and their inspiration. So just going back to, what we're doing here at COP, and I'm looking at all the T-shirts here in the audience and all the young people. It says decarbonize on your T-shirts, super cool. What do you think, thinking about renewable energy and our goal, what do you think would be, a great outcome of COP28 this year, thinking about renewable energy, or anything that you hope to see coming from this COP? And I just want to start with Khadija, since you got the mic there. You're here, this is a 2-week-long program at COP. We have events every single day. There's so much happening in every part of COP, in the green zone, in the blue zone, right here at the Extreme Hangout. What do you hope to happen from COP28?
Okay, you put me on the spot, no problem. COP28, I know one of the biggest things that we've been talking about right now is the global stocktake, right? And we know for a fact, based on that we are nowhere near where we need to be. And I really would like that to be like a slap in the face to just wake people up and realize this has to be the turning point. We have to accept that, okay, we are not doing enough. We need to be more ambitious, and we need to put those goals out there and really work towards it and really start creating the systems to help us work towards it. So that's one thing I want. The next thing, I know that the Loss and Damage Fund has, just been approved, etc. But I really want it to be designed in a way that really benefits small island developing states, and it's not just something that is going to be a loan, a handout, etc. And I know that there's a lot of people talking about it now. The way it's being designed, it's almost like, well, these are the developed countries accepting the fact that climate change is happening, and here, take some money, go and do something about it to like repair. Whereas it's not like this is actually something that small island developing states need to be resilient, to adapt to the impacts of climate change, and to also develop mitigating strategies. So I just really want these things to come into the conversation and we move forward with this mindset and not just let it be a payout, because I feel like at that point it's just accepting that climate change is happening and here.
Thank you, Khadija. And I have one more question for you too, because you're not only talking about renewable energy, but you've also been talking about the deep sea. This has been a really important topic because there's a lot of people here at COP also saying that we need to do deep sea mining to get minerals from the deep sea in order to then create renewable energy, which is kind of a contradiction in itself, right? So tell us a little bit about what you think about deep sea mining and what are you doing here at COP with Sustainable Ocean Alliance?
Okay, so deep sea mining, for those of y'all who haven't heard the topic before, because it's relatively new and it's kind of going under the radar. So within the deep sea, we have these minerals, cobalt, nickel, manganese, etc., at depths below 200 meters. And it's being advertised as that we need these minerals in conjunction with land mining to meet the needs of the green revolution. And that is one of the biggest myths out there. And they're saying like this is part of the sustainable blue economy. And I'm trying to figure out if it is you're going to an ecosystem that is severely undisturbed, it's dark, it has life, it has creatures, and these species has done a lot to adapt to that particular environment, and we're going in there with something like, picture a tractor just going on the seabed and just dragging these minerals up and destroying entire ecosystems. And I remember being on a panel yesterday and saying, it's almost like if somebody said, hey, coral reefs is a great tool to use to build homes. Let's use that. And then we just start going in the ocean and just start taking all the coral reefs and then start just using it as a construction tool. Like, that is something that is absolutely wild. We already have resources on land and we don't need to go and interfere with the reefs, right? That's the same thing with the minerals in the deep sea. We definitely don't need it, and it's being used, like I mentioned, as one of the biggest greenwashing tools for your cars, for phones, etc. And we have so many companies, Samsung, Tesla, Google, etc., that said they're not going to use minerals from the deep sea. So now, more than ever, we have to ask the question, why is this being pushed as a solution? And one of the answers is that it's the fossil fuel industry way of trying to save their existence. So at COP here, we're really trying to raise awareness of this issue and really trying to debunk it as a climate solution, because as some of us may know, the ocean is our biggest ally against climate change. It is a carbon sink, etc. So why would we use the tool that is trying to help us fight climate change to now go and contribute to adding more problems that we already have and that we're struggling with the capacity to deal with? So, yeah.
All right, thank you, Khadija. Round of applause for Sustainable Ocean Alliance and their Defend the Deep. You guys can follow the hashtag Defend the Deep, protect the deep sea. It's an incredible ecosystem underwater that we have to conserve. And like she said, not necessary for the green revolution of renewable energy. All right, Ari, you're next up. Well, you're the, COP delegate of the UK. Tell us, what do you hope to see out of this COP28?
Yeah, big question. I guess the point is that, it's not that the world's never been warmer or that we've never had more CO2 in the atmosphere, but it's that humanity hasn't been able to survive sustainably with it that way. And so it's not just about sort of decarbonizing the energy systems, about renewable energies. Of course, it's about that, but it's about a global sustainability transition. And for me, it's really frustrating working with the UK government. They, I don't think they'll be in these rooms, so it's okay. And even if it's live streamed, I've told them before. Because with any government, the bureaucracy is such a barrier to achieving anything, really. And then you sort of pass it on to the next government to deal with for the next COP. And what I've learned throughout my tenure as a COP delegate is that actually the changes that I've seen, sort of the most tangible changes, have been in the tiny things. So my full-time role is with an organization called Island Innovation, and we work with islands all across the world to develop their blue and their green economies and their resilience to climate change. And as of this COP, we have brought 10 delegates from the Caribbean, fully funded, so that they can have a place in the room. So we have a delegate from St. Martin, as I said, one from the Cayman Islands, one from Suriname, one from Barbados, and they're incredible young people who have taught me more this week than I've learned from the news in the last 24 years. And today, I was just in contact with one of my good friends who works for the UN, and he also is working with a Pacific delegation. And so after this talk, I'm going to have a meeting with our delegation and their delegation to basically perform an alliance, sort of bridge this gap so that they can have these shared resources and shared knowledge. And that's just two 20-year-olds kind of taking some Caribbean islanders under our wing and making action and making things happen. And for me, it's about that. It's about realizing, as I said, your own agency, not waiting on governments or international bodies to enact change, but doing it in the small things, having the conversations, getting people in the room that can't be there otherwise, as I said, with the Cayman Islands and the girl from St. Martin. And it's about having that inclusivity in order to have policy, in order to have community agenda that is informed by all the different stakeholders, not just by the ones with the money to make the actions, because that money will be invested in the wrong places if it's ill-informed. So I think what I'm trying to say effectively is that don't rely on someone else to sort of or the official bodies to enact that change. And in the news, all that will be covered really is the outcome. So the outcome for loss and damage, the outcome for climate finance, the outcome for health. But the media doesn't see the behind the scenes, the conversation that's being had sort of in the small cafe at the side pavilion, and that's where I think the real change can happen and should happen. So I'm entrusting that in you guys to kind of keep that going and passing the baton on to other people to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Ari. Thank you so much. Well, I think, Ari being on the Peace Boat as a youth delegate from COP28 from the UK, I think that really inspired all of our other youth to come here to COP. So that's why we have such a large delegation. So thank you very much for, sharing that with everyone. And another one of our youth here, Francisco, was also at the SB 58 preparing for COP. So it wasn't just on the Peace Boat, but even months before the Peace Boat, already planning for COP. What's your hope for COP? And can you tell everyone a little
joining this amazing group of people, I was joining my government officials as a negotiator for some of the topics that we are discussing right now at COP. One of them is climate finance, and the other one is carbon markets, or Article 6 under the Paris Agreement. I'm not going to get too technical, no worries about that. So in my experience and being at the SBs that Emilie mentioned, so real quick, SBs stands for subsidiary bodies, and subsidiary bodies for technological advice. These are basically some departments for the UNFCCC. They gave advice to all the negotiators before COP and before pre-COP as well, the pre-conference of parties. So that's where the first draft decisions are making. So each year in Bonn in Germany, they're having this climate conference as well, where government officials goes. There are too technical, but it is also a great opportunity to learn more, to deep dive into the topics that they are discussing, and also to engage with government officials, which I think it's important for us as youth, as stakeholders, to be there in the negotiating rooms, taking the lead, using our voice and using our power. So that being said, I really hope for this COP, to first of all, when we think about decarbonization, because I'm seeing all of your amazing T-shirts saying decarbonize, and they are the T-shirts are with this amazing color blue, and I have the climate finance building right behind you. I'm thinking about, I really hope that the government officials, that the people negotiating right now at the Blue Zone, taking the lead on the future of our planet, they look around and turn around and take a look at the ocean, because the oceans right now are our biggest allies when we think about decarbonizing the economy, when we think about carbon capture, when we think about renewables, when we think about everything that we need. I mean, there's a saying, and I always say this as well, there is no green without blue. So basically we need the oceans for life inland. We need the oceans for food security. We need the oceans for everything that we are. We're basically one with the oceans, and I'm referring to an amazing event that we had last night, Sounds of the Oceans. And I do hope that the government officials, the delegates, the COP presidency itself, and all of you, like, look around, look at the ocean, think about the ocean, think about the ecosystem that lies within there, think about the deep sea mining that Khadija was sharing with all of you, and really take into consideration that if we want to, to be ambitious, to be determined, and to keep working towards sustainability and towards a greener future, we also need to think about a blue future. So I'm thinking about that, and I really hope that we all can, drive ambition towards ocean conservation, oceans action, and also to bring resources. That's why I was thinking about climate finance, to bring resources to oceans, to small island and developing states, and to coastal communities, because that's where the real action is taking place right now, in communities and with people, grassroots actions, youth-led projects as well. So I really hope that all of us as COP delegates and all of us here at the Green Zone think about that and think about driving ambition towards ocean and conservation as well.
All right, thank you so much. Round of applause for our youth leaders. Thank you, Francois. Next, we're going to pass it over to Mr. Henk Rogers. You want to have some closing words for us? What do you hope to see come out of this COP?
I'd like everybody here to understand that we are going to stop climate change. This is not like a maybe or a hope that we're going to do this. We are actually doing this. 83% of all new energy that was created last year, new energy generation, was renewable. There are already 7 countries in this world that are already at 100% renewable energy. Nobody pays attention to this. Nobody pays attention to it. We all hear the bad news. We hear doom and gloom. We hear storms and fires and floods and this and that. But what we don't hear is the fact that we're actually doing something about it. And this determination is increasing every year. And so I want people to leave COP not with the message that we went to Mordor, the Mordor of energy in the world, and saw doom and gloom. No, I want to come here and see that we went to Dubai and we came out. There's a ray of hope. There's a ray of light that's coming out of this gathering, and these 100,000 people are going to turn into 1 million people. They're going to turn into 1 billion people, and we're going to solve climate change. And we're going to do it by 2045. That is it. There's no, how can I say, there's no slipping on this date. By the way, if we don't have a deadline, it's like, okay, I want to build a building. It's going to be 120 stories high, and, well, I'd like it to be done someday. That's not how it works. I want to be done in 2 years. I want to be able to have a Christmas party there in 2 years. That's the deadline. If you don't have a deadline, it doesn't work. It doesn't happen. We need to collectively set a deadline. We need to say, we're going to solve climate change by this date. So don't bother building any more fossil fuel infrastructure, because we're going to stop you at 2045. 2045 just happens to be a date that everybody can sort of hopefully get behind. It was an accident in Hawaii, but it's actually the 100th anniversary of the United Nations. The United Nations, I love the United Nations. I mean, look at what the IPCC has brought us. It has brought us the knowledge that we need to understand what's going on. The problem with the United Nations is that the United Nations can't force anybody to do anything. Then the United Nations doesn't have teeth. In its moment of glory in all the COPs, we passed the Paris Agreement. Well, the Paris Agreement doesn't go far enough, and nobody's on track for even that. So the answer is it's not going to be a top-down. We can't like blame the politicians. The politicians are only there to represent us. So if it doesn't happen, we only have ourselves to blame. So I need us to understand that we are going to fix climate change, and then the politicians will follow us. It's a United People issue, not the United Nations issue. So I need everyone's help. I need everyone to go back to wherever they came from, and with the knowledge, first of all, that it is happening. The people that are going to be involved in this transition are going to be the next oil, they're going to be filthy rich. And I need somebody to understand that. I need the people who are in the fossil fuel industry to understand that when they make that transition, that's going to make them a lot of money. And I want them to switch now. The sooner they switch, the more money they make. Maybe that's what will make them move. But anyway, the bottom line is we're going to fix climate change. We're going to do it by 2045. Determination, 100% determination.
All right, round of applause, everyone, for Mr. Henk Rogers, founder of Blue Planet Alliance. And something that we like to do here with Blue Planet, we are always saying that we are doing this as a team. And what I would like to do as we wrap up today's session, would like to say thank you very much to the organizers. Thank you to the Extreme Hangout for being amazing hosts and partners with Peace Boat and Blue Planet Alliance. And I just see all these amazing young people out here in the audience. So I'd like to invite you all up to the stage. You guys want to come up here and get involved with us? We're all going to stand up, all of our Youth for the SDGs leaders. We have here some signs that say helping nations
That means you, by the way.
100% renewable energy. So I'm going to ask all the people wearing blue shirts for Decarbonize, come on up on the stage with us. We're going to take a big group photo. All the people here on the right side of the stage, come on up and join us. And we're all going to grab a sign, and we're all going to say together that we are doing this. We are working towards 100% renewable energy. And right here at the Extreme Hangout, we're going to come and have a big group photo. So family photo for CUP. You guys can come up in the front. Some youth can sit up here in the front. Let's have a front row. All right, all the Blue Planet Alliance global ambassadors, friends, and partners, come on up to the stage. We got Nizos Energy here, renewable energy front and center.
Long arm.
All right. Okay, everybody, so I'm going to say Mr. Henk Rogers is going to lead the chat. I'm going to pass the mic.
Wait.
All right, we got Sustainable Ocean Alliance. We got all the youth. Anybody in the audience, feel free to come up and join us. The idea is that this is a civil society movement, the United People, together with the United Nations and the Extreme Hangout, everybody here, working together for 100% renewable energy by 2045.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
We are doing this. Woo!
One more time. I didn't hear anybody here. 1, 2. We are doing this.
Woohoo! All right, did we get all the young people? We didn't hear those voices. One more time, guys. You're going to copy us. Henk and I are going to say it, and you're going to follow, okay?
1, 2, 3.
We are doing this. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Extreme Hangout. Until COP29.